Our application looks rather empty, so we're going to start adding some elements. If your simulator is still running, you can stop it by clicking on the button Stop. We're going to add a control. A control is an interface element such as a button, an image, or a table. Simply put, it is an element that the user can see on screen and which they may interact with. From the list of files already provided to us by Xcode, select the main.storyboard. A storyboard is a tool that allows us to visually lay out our application. It is also sometimes called Interface Builder. The square you see on the screen is called a view. A view is what is displayed to the user of your application. Every control you're going to add will be displayed above the current view. On the right side of the screen, we have the utility area. If it is not yet displayed, you can use the display icons on the top right of the Xcode window. There are 3 of them. The first one shows or hides the navigation panel. The second one shows or hides the debugger. And the third one shows or hides the utility area. You will notice that the utility area contains 6 icons at the top. Each one displays a different pane. Before we go any further, let's explain why the controller and its view are displayed in the form of a square and not a rectangle like an iPhone, since it's the type of app we chose. With so many iPhone sizes now available, Apple have created a nifty way of simplifying interface layout called size classes. What you are seeing here in the form of a square is an abstract representation of the screen area, and by defining layout constraints, Xcode will then calculate the appropriate position for each element within the view. Now, size classes can be particularly useful when developing universal applications, but they're not compulsory. So that we can dive right into the learning and developing of our app, we're going to leave them out for now. Select the view controller by clicking on the little yellow icon on the top left, and then on the first icon of the utility area to display the file inspector. Uncheck Use Size Classes and confirm. Interface Builder is now showing you the view controller in the shape of an iPhone screen. Let's continue our exploration with the object library, which sits at the bottom right. These objects can be controls or controllers. Since the list is rather long, it's good practice to use the search bar underneath to find the object you're looking for. We're going to look for a label type control. So I'm going to type label in the search field. The list is filtered as I type. Here's our label. To add it, we simply click on the control and drag it above our view controller. In doing this, Xcode displays dotted guidelines for alignment purposes. Here, for instance, the guide tells us that our label will be centered horizontally. By dragging it a little further down, we can also center it vertically. If I want my label to span the entire width of my view, I can position my cursor on one of its sides and drag it to the left or to the right. So drag the left towards the edge of the view until you reach the margin guide displayed by Xcode, and do the same for the right side of the label. Now let's change the text. Go to the Attributes Inspector of the utility area. Inside the text field, let's write our welcome message. Fine Japanese cuisine. The Attributes Inspector in Xcode is very similar to those you can find in other Mac applications, such as Pages or Keynote, for example. It allows you to modify the attribute of an element, like its size or the font. Here we're going to modify it by clicking on the font arrow icon. Try to modify one or more attributes. And then click on Run to launch the simulator. You can now see our label, but it doesn't appear to be horizontally and vertically aligned like we positioned it in our storyboard. That's because our storyboard is not the same size as the iPhone 6 screen, which is what we have chosen for our simulator. By adding just a few layout constraints, we're going to rectify this. I can add constraints by control dragging from my label. If I control drag up, I can see a little blue fishing line appear. When I let go inside the view, a constraints menu is shown and presents me with some choices. I'm going to select Center horizontally in container. Now if I repeat this process, but this time I control click from the label and drag to the side, the constraints menu is suggesting different options, and I can choose Center vertically in container. Xcode is indicating the presence of layout constraints by displaying blue or orange lines. If some layout information remains ambiguous, that is to say too vague for Xcode to properly display the element exactly as desired, you'll see orange line around the element. If the constraint gives enough information, then it's displayed in blue. So how can we fix the orange lines around our label? Well, we've specified constraints for aligning our element, but not yet for sizing it. This time, I'm going to control drag inside the label. I can then choose height and width. So Xcode will now know where to position our label and what size it should be. No more orange lines. Let's build and run again. Our label is perfectly centered. We're still discovering the Xcode environment, but we've successfully added a control of our own. Next, we're going to add an image to go with our text, so keep learning.